Hello, my name is Richie Arlano, and this is my Sprint 1 review. So I had a couple of tasks and stories and bugs to fix during this sprint, and I will show them right here in front of you. The first one is, as a player, I want the ability to see my controls anytime while playing the game, because if I forget, I have somewhere to look. Description behind this is the player will have the option to view a move list at the main menu and the pause menu. This will include all basic moves and some advanced moves that are needed throughout the whole game. The next task is, as a player, I should be able to see the basic moves clearly before starting my adventure. This was a small bug I had to fix. The player will enter the level and see a moveset and a blank background. Pretty much just a basic moveset for them to start with, and I'll show how this gets started within the game. But when they're finished, they can enter and go on to the next phase of the level. The next one was, as a player, I should be shown mini tutorials on new learnings with small pop-ups that go away when I hit a certain button. That way I can retain the information at my own pace. The player should see dialogue that comes up at certain parts of the game. Basically, it should be either like little hints or new equipment or moves to basically continue the game. I heavily focus on the tutorial side of this. So as the player moves to the tutorial, they should see pop-ups that they can interact with. We did tweak it a little bit, so instead of hitting enter, the pop-up should go away within about 5 seconds. And if they want to see the pop-up again, they just go and interact with it. These will be like signs that the player gets attracted to for these pop-ups to begin. The next one was, as a player, I should be able to see hints within the level when I come into contact with a puzzle. That way I have some clues on how to solve it. This primarily works with a specific puzzle to open a stone door. The stone door needs a specific combination, and when I show you within the level, you'll be able to see some tiles on the wall that the player can interact with, and the dials on the left that are being glowed up with a spotlight. And basically with that, they can see the numbers that they're inputting into the dials. And my last task was, as a player, I should be informed through communication when I am finished with certain situations. That way I know there's nothing else to be done and I can continue on. So this is more like giving the players a little warning if they're doing something and going above and beyond what is asked. In particular, this goes with the health herbs. So if the player has any herbs and they want to use it and they're at full health, a pop-up will come up that says you're already at max health. If their herbs are at 0 and they try to hit the H button, pretty much what will happen is they will see a pop-up that says you're out of herbs. We did have other things in the game that would have required the pop-up, but as a team we decided to remove those from the game, so really the only thing that we needed for a pop-up was the herbs we use for health. So those are the tasks, stories, and bugs I was doing this sprint that I completed. Now let's go to Perforce. And in Perforce we're going to use this current build. And this is the build change number over here, 841258. That was done today at 1:27 p.m. So let's go ahead and open the build. So what you'll see here is our main menu. And one of my first tasks was to create a movements page. So the player should be able to see this movements page whether they want to see it at the main menu here, keyboard controls, or if they want to see it in the pause menu. So we will start with the keyboard controls right here. So we're going to hit keyboard controls, and this brings up the keyboard controls. Pretty much it shows them forward, left, right, and back. This is your basic controls, and then some of the more basic or advanced controls that are within the game. So how they move with the mouse, how they use the bow, their climbing picks, or the grapple, how they interact, how they can grab or drop an item, how they use herbs for help, space, pause, crouch, some of the basic movements and more advanced movements that are within the game. And there are a few things that they will learn along the way. So if we go into play, we'll start at our first level, and it asks, would you like to start the tutorial level? Now I'm going to come back to this. What I want to show first is pretty much I'm going to hit no, and this allows the player to basically start at the main area without having to do a tutorial level. Now what I want to show is if we hit pause, again, you'll see the keyboard controls. If we click on that, it brings up the keyboard controls for the player to look at during the game if they forgot some key movements to work with. So if we hit back, we go back to the pause menu, and then we can resume, and it resumes the game like nothing happened. So what we're going to do now is we're going to basically quit out of this game, reopen it, because what I would like to do is pretty much start the tutorial level to show you some of the other key aspects that I was working on. So we're going to hit play, start the game. It's going to ask us, hey, would you like to start the tutorial level? I'm going to hit yes. And basically it comes up with this. This is what I was working at before. Before we had a bug that was allowing the player to see the character in motion while trying to drop in and start the game. What we're able to do now is basically start the player at a standstill motion, bring up the screen, pause the game, and basically give the player their basic movements to start. So, like you saw in the controls, this is just your basic movements: move forward, left, backwards, and right. This allows the player to just get started with and get familiar with a small list of moves. And when they're done, all they have to do is hit enter, and they start the game. So this is the game, pretty much the tutorial level. So the player will see a sign, and they can walk to it with the W key that they just learned about. When they interact with the sign, it gives them hints, pop-up dialogue, which is what I was working on to make it more clear to the player what to do next. If they hit interact, it says press and hold shift to run, telling them, all right, here's what you can do, here's how you run, here's another movement to learn. So, okay, cool, so now I can run. Hit shift, I move a little faster, and I'm learning as I go. Yep, here's another sign, here's another clue or hint. Pretty much press the space bar to jump. Okay, so I know now that I can move forward, I can run, and now I can jump. So, oh, that was me just interacting with the sign again. So again, we interact with the sign. Instead of hitting enter, the player can interact with it as many times as they like. It goes away within 5 seconds, and they can continue their journey. So now we jump, we learn sprint, we learn move. So now we can interact with this sign. Some surfaces may be climbable. So this is kind of giving the player a hint that a surface ahead of them is a little different than the rest. As of right now, you could see that there's a hexagon wall in front of them that they figured, oh, maybe I can climb this. Let's try and jump up and get it. And look, we learned how to climb. Now we can just move forward. As we move forward, we can go around. This is where the player will climb up the mountain, basically using the moves that I just learned: run, jump, move forward, climb up, pretty much getting them used to the basic movements that they're going to be using for the rest of the game. So again, jump, climb, move forward, and if they want, they can run up the mountain, keep going to the top, and then here's another sign. Now, not every sign pretty much is about learning. If we interact with this sign, this says sometimes the best view are at the highest peaks. So the player can look around and just take a look at all the wonderfulness of the build and, just take in all the sights. And then they could also see that over there, there's basically the main area and where they need to go, where they started. So now they can basically run down the mountain and begin their adventure. So they're going to come over here and jump. Now they're in the main area, basically where they started. And we're going to come over here, and we're going to hit this sign. Again, they see a sign. They know that these signs are hints or ways to teach them how to play the game. They give them basically a direction of where to go next. So with this, if they interact with it, press interact with the zip line and begin your adventure. So they see the zip line. They say, okay, I know that this sign now tells me that I can interact. Now, if they looked at the controls, they can see that E is to interact with objects. But we want to tell them specifically or guide them specifically to where they can go to begin their next adventure. So we're going to go over the zip line and press E to interact, and then we go across. This will lead us to our central hub, where the player is allowed to pretty much choose a specific level that they want to start with. If we go over here and press interact, it tells the player where to go. Enter a specific level. At the end of the level, you'll have a golden ball you can interact with to go to the next level, or come back to the tutorial to choose a different level. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go over to the time puzzle, which is the next part of my task, where I wanted to give the player hints on how to solve a puzzle. So let's go to the time puzzle. It's going to load. We're going to load in. So now with the time puzzle, it was very open. So now it's more closed off, giving the player a feel of being actually inside of a falling apart ruin or room. but that doesn't start till after we open the stone door. So I want to give the player hints. So in the middle, there's a sign. We're probably going to change that to more of a dialogue, but pretty much again, the signs teach the player that these are your hints, these are your friends, these are something you can use throughout the game to help you progress. So looks like there are clues on the wall that will give me the code for the dials on the wall, or on the stone door. I should say stone door. I'll have to adjust that. So if the player comes over here, now instead of me telling the player what the code is, now they come over here to get little hints, little puzzles to figure out. So what is 3 times 5? So in my head, that's 15. Okay, so one of the numbers is 15. Let's go to the next one. What happens when you add 10 5 times? 10 5 times. Oh, that's 50. So 50 is my second number. So now I have 15 and 50. Third, if you double the number 10, what happens? Well, if you double number 10, you get 20. Oh, okay, so the code should be 15, 50, and 20. All right, so where could I put this code in? Well, as you can see over there, the numbers are highlighted. They're lit up. They tell the player, okay, come over here and put the numbers in. So we're going to go over to the number dials. Okay, and now the player doesn't know where the numbers go exactly. But technically, they get that hint when they're solving each square from left to right. So if they follow that clue along, they'll know that, okay, if I start with the left and I put in 15, 50, and 20, the door should open, and it does. So this is the type of hints that we're working with on each puzzle to guide the player in the right direction. And one of the biggest ones I wanted to basically show the player where to go is in the stone door phase, so that they know they have hints and they have little puzzles to figure out how to figure out and get through, progress through the level with the bigger puzzle, which is opening the stone door. And that leads them further into the game to basically start the timer and basically get to the end of the level, hit the gold circle or hit the gold treasure to move on to the next level and progress throughout our game. The last thing I want to do was, of course, pop-ups. Now, these pop-ups pretty much are to warn the player that they're doing something they shouldn't be. So one of them, one of the last ones we have is, of course, the herbs. If you see on the bottom right, they're currently at 0. So if I try to heal or heal my health and hit H, a pop-up should come up saying I'm out of herbs. And it should come up quickly saying, all right, you're out of herbs. Well, what happens if I miss that? Like, what did it say? Hit it again. It says again, out of herbs. So it's just a quick response to the player saying, hey, you're out of herbs. You need to get some before you can heal. Same thing would happen as if the player was basically at full health. If they hit H at full health and they have a herb, it'll say you are at max health. Again, a quick response to the player, little dialogue, little pop-up that tells the player, hey, communicating with them saying, hey, you're either out of herbs, you're at full health, and that's pretty much all we're going to communicate. We did, again, like I said, we did have other things that we wanted to create pop-up dialogue, but as a team, we decided not to use them. So my task came down to just working with the herbs and the health and how to heal the player. So that is all of my tasks that I completed during this sprint. Again, my name is Richie Alano. Thank you for watching, and on to one of my next teammates. Thank you.